Let's go off the charts as a part of the ML Sports Platter presented by CH Insurance. They are in your corner, of course, with the personal and commercial insurance packages. Call them about group benefits as well. And go see them online at chinsurance.cc. My man, Charlie Lockwood, the Hall of Famer, Syracuse lacrosse great. Always great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on Off the Charts, man. And Joe Jr. says hi, so be on your best behavior for this, all right?
That's my guy. I'm telling you, Mr. Naz, Mr. Three-point shooter. I love Joey.
That's right. That's right. Well, I did find you, obviously, after you were drowning in your own tears from hoop season. So we're going to leave that over on the side. This is an all-exclusive lacrosse segment, and let's be honest, Gate and Cuse this week, that's a big game. It's a tricky game, Charlie, right?
Yes. Yeah. Colgate is a team, Mike, that, you know, they're have a bunch of seniors on the team, right? They've played together for a long time. They started off the year kind of sketchy because they lost to Penn State, who's the number 2 team in the country. And then they lost to Virginia, who at the time was the number 3 or 4 team in the country. But since, they've ripped off like 5 or 6 out of their last 7. And they beat up Harvard. Okay, let's use Harvard as the standard because Syracuse and Colgate have both played Harvard. That's the common opponent. Colgate beat them by 4 or 5 goals at Harvard. Syracuse lost to Harvard at home, which I would consider not the greatest loss, not the worst loss either, because Harvard's a top 10, 11 team themselves. But that shows you how dangerous that Colgate is. Colgate hung like 20 goals on them. Okay, their offense is one of the best and most efficient in the country. If Syracuse fans think this Saturday is going to be a walkover, like the traditional Syracuse, Colgate, smaller lacrosse program, whatever, that it's going to be a walkover, it's not. In fact, I think this is a 1 or 2 goal game, potentially either way.
And isn't that kind of the typical Syracuse fan thing anyway, when a mid-major comes in any sport? It's like, yeah, no problem there. And part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on this specific week, obviously love catching up and all, but the NIL portal thing presents such a different deal because in this game, you have a program like Colgate, all those kids, I'm not Syracuse, a great institution, but Colgate is more geared towards, right? The education is such a huge part of the Colgate thing where doesn't that keep players together more at an education-based thing like a Colgate or a Harvard, right? I mean, that plays into this lacrosse thing like all the other sports, right? Keeping the guys together, the camaraderie, the teamwork, the team building, God forbid, the recruiting part, right? I mean, doesn't that plays a big part now?
Yes, Mike, if you look at Colgate as the whole package, if you will, not just from a lacrosse standpoint, but you look at the school, it's essentially an Ivy League school. If you've ever been to the campus, it's absolutely gorgeous. If you talk to anyone at Colgate, their alumni is one of the most powerful in the country, if not the world. Absolutely. So, you know, they got a golf course right next to the campus. They got a private airport, Mike. What's that tell you? Their alumni are flying in private planes. Okay. Yep. So there's money there. So like, that's like, if you think about lacrosse, right? White collar sport and all that. If you're getting recruited at Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Colgate is sort of in that mix. They're right there. And it's hard to reject an offer when Colgate comes to you. And now you're seeing a high level lacrosse player. So you get the high level academics, beautiful school, and then you get great lacrosse. Not to mention, too, I think every year they're named one of the top party schools in the country as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, every school's a party.
It gets cold there.
Yeah, so and by the way,
we understand.
Yeah, you get 115, 20 inches of snow a year for crying out loud.
Right.
You know, and it is interesting. College sports are kind of like this, right? I mean, the NIL portal has thrown a new wrench into everything, but certain places with certain things and standards and box checking, they kind of are separate in that they know who they are. They know what they do. Look at St. John's, for example, in basketball. I know they have Pitino. I know they have Manhattan and New York.
They have money, too. They have resources.
Well, there you go. Money, resources. But, Charlie, usually people come at it with, oh, it's all Power 5. It's all oil money. It's all football. St. John's doesn't have football. I mean, not to the D1 degree level. You know.
Hey, Mike, they have Manhattan.
I
have
know.
And they have Rick Pitino. He's a star.
I know, and that's what I was just saying. UConn, those same thing. It's what I'm getting at, Charlie, is they're not Alabama. They're not LSU. They're not Texas A&M, Texas, and all that. That's what I'm getting at. They
like
have
the
they have New York City and money and all that sort of thing. But a lot of this portal and NIL stuff, the talk is football, Power 5, and the area that you're in. Well, not necessarily. St. John's in a special category in basketball, but they have the things you mentioned, I mentioned to offset it. Colgate, they have their football and this and that, but on the lacrosse side, hockey side, they've got all those things, kind of like St. John's does without the power football. So kind of unique there, right? I mean, and both sports very well, but you can see the comparison, right?
Mike, if my son or daughter were considering to go to Colgate, to me, it would be an absolute home run. I've been to the campus. I took a tour of their hockey facility up there. Oh. It is sick. And Mike, I'm not even a hockey guy. And I walked through that stadium and I was like, you got to be kidding. Now, obviously they prioritize it. You can tell, but you can piggyback off that. I know like at Boston right now, right? Boston's got a top 20 men's lacrosse program.
Right.
How good is Boston hockey? So like when you think about like going to like an Alabama, Nebraska, Texas, right, for football, you can start to look at these other schools like Colgate, Boston, and some of these other, they got big hockey traditions. So you can piggyback off that and leverage that. I think they are.
You're saying Boston as in BU.
BU.
Yeah, BU is insanely good at hockey yet again this year. They spit out more NHL guys last year. World Juniors, we just won. We as in America. I mean, look at these guys with a shirt. You got Macklin Celebrini, #1 pick last year. Will Smith, their teammates in San Jose. BU this year has a great chance at the Frozen Four. So I know exactly what you're saying. It's just interesting to see the comparison of a St. John's non-Power 5, non-big time football, but yet they have Manhattan, this and that, Patino, whatever, for the NIL money. When a lot of people just jump towards the football, they jump towards, Power 5 football. That's what they jump at. Colgate, well, no, there's not Power 5 football there either. And there's certain things in certain areas that allow you to, grow with the times and be successful. Charlie Lockwood is our guest here on Off the Charts, brought to you by CH Insurance. I get to the biggest strength, the biggest weakness of the Orange lacrosse team right now is what?
Okay, so Mike, that's a great question. And I would simply characterize Syracuse lacrosse this year as being very, very similar to what you've seen in the last year or two, with a little bit more maturity, a little bit more experience. What I mean by that is the Syracuse offense right now, what makes them so dangerous and deadly, we've talked about this for the last 2 years, Mike. Their skill level is off the chart. Their passing and their ability to beat double and triple teams is absolutely a thing of beauty. Sure. The thing where they struggle, Mike, and this is where they've lost games the last couple of years, when they play a big athletic team like a Notre Dame, okay, like a North Carolina, like a Maryland, okay, Maryland in particular, they're 0-7 the last 7 trips against Maryland, okay? These teams, Mike, have these big athletic defenses, right? And instead of game planning Syracuse where you have to help, okay, like say a Joey Spallina or Owen Hiltz is going to the cage, they're telling their defenders, Mike, do not slide, do not double. Because when a team, like for instance, Manhattan last night, they're undermanned against the Syracuse team, right? 18-2 was the final score. Manhattan was double teaming the ball a lot. What Syracuse does is they invite that. Sure. They say, yes, double us because we're going to move the ball so fast to that open guy, that open slot. We're going to make you pay. The good teams like Maryland, Notre Dame, Mike, they don't double. Their assignments, their defensive coordinators are saying, don't come off the guy. You're on an island, one-on-one, and we think we can win those matchups. And what's happening is Syracuse needs to figure out how to win those matchups against the higher quality teams, Mike, and they haven't been able to do that in the last 2 or 3 years. As far as skill and offensive talent, Syracuse is in the top 1, 2, or 3 in the country. As far as just having guys that can create separation by themselves, I wouldn't say they're in the top 1, 2, or 3 in the country. Okay? That's what they're going to have to figure out. Syracuse, in my mind, is a bona fide Final Four contender, but they're going to have to figure out how they can win matchups against the better teams.
By the way, hope you don't mind that we are joined by, somebody else during the interview.
No, I see that. I love dogs.
I know you do. You're a big dog guy. So there's been so much chatter about, what's the is there a new expectation? Is there a new ceiling of these Syracuse sports programs now that Fran Brown immediately delivered double digits, right? Win, NFL pipeline is back. You get a bowl win. Now, is it sustainable with this gauntlet schedule coming up, by the way? We'll see. The basketball program, the NIL portal is a factor in all of this. I understand that. But basketball, brutal year this year. What's now the and the same has been said about lacrosse, as you well know, and they have not won it all since 2009. It feels like forever. Been like almost 2 decades here. What is, considering all the ball, you know exactly what I'm going to ask you. With all the balls in the air, the NIL, the portal, the style, the parity, programs you didn't have to worry about, facilities, what is it now? Is it every 7 to 10 years you make a Final Four or 2, 1 title in a decade? Do I even say that now with SU? I mean, and in a tournament every year, how many wins? Their schedule's tough. What is the reasonable expectation? I know rosters change every year is its own story, but the sustained expectation, what is it year to year, Charlie?
Mike, it's hard for me to answer this because I know the right answer.
Why I asked
and if I take everyone back 20, 25 years, I'll give you the easy answer.
Right.
When I went to Syracuse and my teammates went, there was one option, Mike. Yeah, one option. Yeah. That was a national championship.
I know.
If I have to be real now with the parity and the amount of talent that is spread throughout the country at all these great institutions like we talked about earlier, I would say every recruiting class, right? So if you go to Syracuse and you're there for 4 years, I would say the expectation is you're trying to compete for a Final Four appearance at least 2 times out of those 4 years.
Okay.
Your 4 years, Mike, you should be going to the tournament. If you don't go to the NCAA tournament every year that you're at Syracuse, that is a major failure. And anyone that says differently, they're lying to you, okay? You got to go to the tournament. That's the standard. That's the minimum standard.
Yeah.
I would say every 1 to 2 years out of a recruiting cycle, 4 years, you should be competing for a Final Four. Now, the ball bounces crazy. There's injuries. There's luck. There's all that other stuff we've talked about before. Winning a national championship is still the goal, Mike. Let's not forget that. That is the goal. But I think people have to understand the difference between now and 15, 20, 30 years ago, Mike. There's 20 teams that look like each other. When I played, there was 3 or 4 that looked like each other.
Fair.
Okay. And so to me, I think everyone needs to do a reset, just like in all sports, and say, okay, what's a realistic goal? Tournament minimum. Let's compete for a Final Four 2 out of every 4 years at Syracuse. Now, listen, everyone's going to say, oh, it should be every year. I get it. It should be every year, but there's cycles. Like Joey Spallina's group right now, Mike, that junior class, let's be honest, he's a junior. That happened real quick. Yeah. Next year, he's a senior. He's gone. But he's not just gone. It's Owen Hiltz. It's English. It's Finn Thompson. It's all these guys are gone. Then what happens? Right. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the cycle we're talking about. It's hard to replace guys like that. So I think this year, Syracuse is a Final Four type of contender. And honestly, brutally honest with you, Mike, if they don't get to a Final Four this year with that talent, there's going to be a lot of disappointed lacrosse folks around here in Syracuse.
Can you even recruit anymore in this sport? I mean, I guess you probably can more than like hoops, football, whatever, but it's a lily pad to lily pad to lily pad to lily pad. Guys jumping, taking black bags, money.
Portal, Mike.
Okay, portal, right. Portal, NIL, you know, it's one or the other or both, right? Sometimes they go hand in hand. Sometimes they don't.
Mike, it's portal. Like, listen, my son Charlie.
So how much do you recruit? Do you even recruit anymore?
It's a great question. So I know you've seen the Rick Pitino hot take, where he literally said, I'm not going to recruit a high school kid. I don't care if he's a 5-star.
This kid said, yeah, last year he walked in, he goes, this team is not good. I'm going. Okay.
I'm looking for men. He goes, I'm looking for men. So think about if you're a college coach right now, Mike, you're making a few $100,000 and you actually have pressure to win in lacrosse. I know it sounds crazy, but like lacrosse has evolved as well. Okay. Even the coaches, they're getting paid. They have to win. So if I'm a college coach, Mike, and I can give a scholarship to a 16 or 17-year-old high school hotshot, or I can go into a portal to a kid that had 50 goals last year at the Division I level, and he's got 2 more years, I'm sorry, 16, 17-year-old, you're going to have to look somewhere else. I'm going somewhere where I know this kid, this is a proven player at the Division I level. And guess what? A lot of high school kids, Mike, the recruiting's not the same anymore. A lot of Division I kids that are sitting in high school now, you know where they're ending up, Mike? Division II and Division III.
Right.
It's
right.
And guess what? That's happening in other sports too.
Well, Charlie, listen, that might be different if you walked in and said, okay, and they had a plan with this NIL portal thing where you went into the hot shot and said, okay, are you coming here? All right, there's your contract. You're coming here to play. You're coming here to play. You can't transfer. It's a minimum of 2 years to play here or 3 years, whatever the contract guidelines are. Where's the board? Where's the commissioner? Where are the contracts?
It's non-existent.
Correct. But they went in, fly it against the wall, hope it sticks, see how this goes. You don't just do something this crazy and hope it.
Mike,
you just see how it goes.
Go back to how it used to be. You want to transfer? Fine. Wait 1 year. Sit 1 year. And guess what, Mike? 98% of the portal goes bye-bye.
No question.
Because Mike, it's an instantaneous that people want the satisfaction immediately. That's why, Mike, kids are going to practice. I've heard this. Kids are going to practice, right?
Yep.
The coach is yelling at them, constructive, not hitting them, not choking them Bobby Knight style.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They're literally yelling and instructing their players. You know what the kids are doing? They're calling their parents that night.
I'm leaving.
I'm literally in the portal tomorrow.
Yep.
And so there's no consequences, and they know that they can play right away.
Unbelievable.
You tell that same kid they have to sit out a year, they're not doing it.
It's unbelievable. All right. I held you long by a minute or two, but I'm breaking the promise. I promised no basketball talk, but because of what we were just getting into, I am going to throw something at you for Syracuse basketball. Strategy-wise, I got into this a little bit today as a guest on a show, and then I did my video from Rosie's on this. What if Adrian Autry goes up to all these kids? They're all doing AAU anyways, right? They're all up and down the floor. This is a nice class coming in, but again, who knows who's going to stay?
They're all young too, Mike. They're kids.
Yeah, of course. But what if the strategy is this? You know what? To hell with it. If the first kid doesn't buy it, maybe the second or third will, whatever. Here's some stuff for you. Look at Sherman Douglas to Stevie Thompson with an alley-oop. Look at this. Look at that. Look at Derek Coleman running like an antelope. Look at Billy Owens. Look at all. This is how it has been, how it should be here. Look at Pearl Washington. Hey, we're up and down the floor. We've tried it. We've been okay with it the last couple of years. The end of Jim, Red. We want to run up and down. Sometimes we can. Sometimes we can't. But we're really going to go now. We're going to try to score 90 to 100 every game. We're going to go out and get all these high flyers. It's positionless basketball anyway. Bring them all in. Bring in kids who want to catch, run, boom, score before 10 seconds. Loyola Marymount style, old school Cuse, Blue Curtain, Big East, Sherman, Pearl.
You gotta be old to know that reference, Mike.
Run, and we win 95 to 92, and I swear to God, we're going to die doing it. How's that for a strategy? And by the way, you get a little bit of a black bag too.
Yeah, listen, Mike.
You do.
Our basketball situation, and again, I know I've already used Rick Pitino once. I'm going to use him again. He talked about Kadari Richardson, right?
Yeah.
Richmond. He was brutally honest. He said he's not coming here unless we're paying him the money we paid him. He goes, even if the money was even, he stays at Seton Hall. If the money was even, he stays at Seton Hall, right?
$1 million.
I think the issue that we're going to have, Mike, going forward is that I don't think that we have the resources at Syracuse to pay like the other schools do. And that's going to be a problem. And until there's some sort of cap, salary cap or something that is put into place,
right?
There's unlimited upside. Look at the kid that's okay. How about the kid, the number one recruit in the country is going to BYU. When's the last time BYU won anything in hoops? They're paying the kid $7 million, Mike.
Right.
I'm going, I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's on another continent. And I don't care if we play for a national championship. $7 million. That's what Kadari Richmond did.
Yeah.
He took $1 million, Mike.
Right.
You think Syracuse can pay someone $1 million? No, not close. We're not there, Mike.
Yeah, they paid Lampkin like $775. He came in. You thought he'd be a good fit. This and that. He had a roller coaster year, and he wasn't.
I don't think he was bad. I'm just being honest.
I don't either. But he wasn't great.
He's not Kadari Richmond.
They brought him in to be great, Charlie. They brought him in to be a big guy, a force, almost like a Fab Mello kind, hold down the fort down there and give you double-doubles. He was a roller coaster all year. That was 800 G's, dude.
Mike, ask Derek Coleman what he thinks about him.
I would love to ask Derek Coleman, but he
Oh,
doesn't.
no. It's been well documented how he feels.
No, well, he doesn't respond to me when I try to ask him on the show. Maybe you should talk to Derek about getting him on my show.
So, but anyways, Mike, I think that Syracuse, their program right now, their football and basketball in particular. Okay, those are the money. Those are the kings.
Yeah.
I just don't know how we compete with some of the other schools. And to be honest with you, unless there's some sort of, controls put into place by the NCAA or whatever organization can run with this thing. The bigger schools, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Texas, whoever's got the biggest budgets and the biggest donors, they win. It's that simple, Mike. We don't have to overthink it.
Yeah. And, football's got the X factor in Fran Brown right now. They got a nice situation with Kyle McCord.
It'll be nice.
They didn't want him at Ohio State. They go win a title, but then he works here and it was Fran. And so maybe an X factor for hoops as well. I don't know, man, but it's tough sledding right now in this era. There's no doubt. Hey, give me 30 seconds on falling in love. When did you first fall in love with lacrosse? Was it like a Canadian hockey thing, like at 2 years old, where they're in skates out of the crib? Was it like?
So it's
Jenny,
man. So check this out, man. I never played lacrosse until 7th, 8th grade. I was a baseball player at Marcellus. Okay, I was a pitcher and a center fielder, and I played Pop Warner football over in Camillus. Right. My family needed to get a bigger home. We moved over to Camillus, and when it came to the summer, I asked all my friends, my Pop Warner football buddies, where do I sign up for baseball? They said, we don't do that over here. We play lacrosse. You're young, impressionable kids, and you want to be with your friends. Yeah. I picked up lacrosse. My first coaches were Tom Corey and John Zilberti, SU legends, okay? Yep. And I got involved with lacrosse, which would today be in probably the 8th or 9th inning, using a baseball analogy, okay? I started very late, but let's be honest, it was 35 years ago, and it was easier to pick up the sport then. If you're getting involved with lacrosse today, it's still possible to get involved at 7th, 8th, 9th grade. You got to really be a superior type athlete, though, right? Yeah. Like a natural ability. But if you're getting involved that late, you're behind quite a bit, your peers. But so it wasn't a love at first sight thing, because I love baseball. And to be honest with you, Mike, there's some days I ask my parents, how come you didn't keep me in baseball? Yeah. Because I like pitching and being a center field. I like baseball. But, lacrosse worked out perfect for me, being at West Jenny and then Cuse and then everything else. But, it's a great sport. It's a tight-knit fraternity, and it's opened up a million doors. So,
and you made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't think you make this Hall of Fame staying in baseball, do you?
I don't know.
You don't. Oh, really?
I'm a confident guy, Mike.
Wow, he's telling me he's going to Cooperstown. Hall of Famer Charlie Lockwood. Oh my goodness.
No, I'm not saying that. No, because I don't know if I can hit.
I'm just kidding. You do bring up a good point though, because the lacrosse thing, a lot of these newer programs, like kids getting into lacrosse late, but they're great athletes. They pick up the stick and they just kind of use the athleticism. They get a scholarship and boom, they get with a new program. I do see what you're saying though. The way it's going with the developed early dominant skill set, having to be younger now to be dominant later, I think is what you were getting at, right?
Mike, you remember when you and I grew up and we were playing 3 sports? Like I played football, basketball, lacrosse, right?
Sure.
We played it for 3 months. We kicked off the rust, played the next sport, kicked off the rust, played the next sport. It's 10 months a year now. If you're not doing that, Mike, it's very, very hard to stay with the group.
Off the charts, it's never hard to talk to this guy, Charlie Lockwood, the Hall of Famer, Syracuse lacrosse great. I said we were going 12 to 15 minutes, and I straight up lied to him. That's what I did. Off the charts, bro.
It's an easy 25 minutes, Mike. I love this, man.
Well, lunch on me. I still owe you, and I'll take you to a nice local establishment for sure. But Off the Charts is brought to you by CH Insurance. They are in your corner. Call them for group benefits and those personal and commercial insurance plans as well. Charlie, thank you a million. I will see you soon, hopefully very soon, and we'll see what the Cuse does against Colgate. Take care, buddy.
Go Cuse. I think they're a Final Four team this year.
All right. Take care, buddy.
See ya.